Welcome to the Between the Pages podcast, brought to you by Boldly Seeking Ministries. Join the conversation every other Wednesday with the team and other special guests as we navigate how we can live a bold faith in between the valleys and the mountaintops of life. This episode is sponsored by Lakeview Covenant Church, where together they pursue Christ and advance his priorities across the street and around the world. Now, let's get to this week's conversation.
Between the Pages podcast, brought to you by Boldly Seeking Ministries. I'm Jenny, here today with Elizabeth. Say hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
And we are talking about friendships today. We both have had really good friendships throughout our years and some poor ones that we had to learn some really hard life lessons through. So stay tuned as we go through some Bible verses and some testimonies as we're just sharing the importance of friendship and just living in a fellowship of community as we go through this ministry too. Our first verse is from Ecclesiastes 4:12. I'm going to read for us today. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And this is a verse that you often hear read at wedding vows or when they're going through marriage counseling and stuff like that. It's the two couple is not as strong as when there's 3, and that third person would be God. As you bring God into your relationship, it's really focusing on just how you can be so much stronger as you bring God as the focus, and it's not just 2 people, it's 3. But that's also talking about relationships with friends too, right? So sometimes when you're with your friend group, it can be really easy to get sucked into negativity or gossiping and things like that. But when you try to bring that third person, God, into the friendship or that conversation, it can really just steer it away from that negativity and that gossiping. Let's see. I grew up in a very small school and you grew up in a very large school, right? So as I was in this small school, you kind of know everybody, and the main friends you have are pretty much the only girls in your class. And a lot of things can happen when you just have a small group of 15 kids in your class, and you kind of have to be friends with all of them. But looking at a big school, was it hard to be friends with everybody, or how would that friend group change throughout high school?
Well, definitely I had a very, very small group of friends. I mean, not small, compared to what your friend group was, but it's also, there's so many different cliques, I feel in a large high school, that you kind of just you have your own friends and you just stick to those friends. And if there's problems within that friend group, then you're okay, what do I do now? My friends that I've known for all this time, and I'm sure you understand that too with being in a small school. If you have problems in your friend group, you have problems. You can't really make new friends in your school. And
you kind of see them every day. You're almost forced to be with them a little bit. So it's I don't know. I found as I went from high school into college that I didn't make a ton of really strong college friends, which is okay because that's just where I wasn't pouring my energy into. But I did come really close with those high school friends that I graduated with, and just reestablishing the stronger friendships I had in high school, and really just pouring the energy into that. And the attention that I had was shifting from what can I do to please those friends to is this friendship enriching me? In our thank you. Our second verse is from Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. So there's definitely pros and cons to having a small group of friends, like you were saying. And when you have a small handful of friends, it can be much more encouraging than to trying to balance having a whole 10 friends or a dozen friends, because then you're kind of the mediator between 2 different groups of people sometimes. Yeah. Do you have any stories about being the mediator?
With my friend group, it was never I never had to be the mediator, but there was always, it just seemed there were a couple people that always were starting drama, and it just ended up pulling our friend groups apart and splitting it into taking sides, and we all got swept into, oh, you're on this side or you're on that side, and we don't talk to, even if you don't have a problem with someone on the quote unquote other side, you just you don't talk to that person even, and it just became so draining and toxic and problematic, even just at school. It's your focus shifts from focusing on school to focusing on oh my goodness, I have to see these people in this class. I don't want to go. Like, I can't focus on this class because of all these people and all these problems.
Or like, what are they thinking about me? Or all of those things.
For sure.
So it's really important to take a look at like what friendship actually should be based on. And like Jesus obviously is that main example. It sounds like such a Sunday school answer, but like that's how Jesus treated people, is like how we should be treating our friendships too. He's the best example of what a friendship should look like. He was not concerned about pleasing people or keeping them happy. He reached out to others when they reached out to him. He cried with those who were mourning, and he rejoiced with those who were happy that they couldn't contain their joy anymore. He served others because he saw their needs and their faith. In a few of my friendships, I was always trying to be the person that everybody would go to when they had something to like talk about. Like, I wanted to be the loyal friend where everybody was like, oh, I'm going to go to Jenny because she can pray for me, or like, I don't know, I just really took people pleasing to the extreme in some of my friendships, and that really like harmed me in the long run, because then I wasn't getting that feeling like I was providing things for them like Jesus would provide things for other people. And then as I would walk away from like a conversation with one of those friends, it was like I didn't feel uplifted or encouraged. It was more like now I have more worries or things that they brought me stress through. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, of like being the friend that people go to, of like trying to be like out of the issues but still like in the issues. But it's not a great place to be.
Right.
Until you like, when you're in it, you don't realize. Then once you're out of it, you're like, what was I doing?
Right. You're not really fully, like, your eyes aren't open when you're in that situation, but then when you come out of it, and hopefully you do come out of it as a better person, and then you think like, wow, that really wasn't a good relationship for me to be in, or a good friendship to follow, because it was so draining or so toxic, or I was just really stressed out after we would talk with somebody. So I looked up a quote from Christine Hoover, and it was really like impactful through this talk that we were focusing on. It goes, we all want relationships in which we know and are known at the deepest level. We want friendships that point us to grace and truth. So the 3 or 4 people that like have been the closest friends in my life really like were following that quote. I felt known, and I wanted to be known at the deepest level. Like that's the group of friends that you go to when you have good news and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to text this person. Like, I passed my driver's test. I'm so excited to share it. Or it's like also like, oh, this guy just like said something mean to me. I have to go tell them, like rant to them a little bit. It's like both things, right?
Yes, for sure. I know for me, like the 2 people, I have like a solid like trio right now. And for me, like neither of them are believers, but at the same time, I've just noticed that, like, I'm a freshman in college now, and I've just noticed that as I more take my personal faith more seriously, I've been able to bring it, like, into these friendships, and I've just noticed that it's been, like, more of a deeper level of, like, we can talk about these things and have, like, these open and honest conversations, and I can still, like, go to them with my boy problems or go to them with my family whatever problems it is. Like, we can rant, or we can be like, I like got a good grade on this test. I did like whatever it is. It's like a good healthy balance now, and I think it's really beneficial more than the high school toxicity of friendships.
Yeah, and it's really hard to make friends when you're older, because when you're little, it's like your mom set up play dates for you, or like there's a birthday party and they invite all the class. And so making friendships when you're older, I think is quite difficult, because then it's maybe you just find some common ground that you can talk about, or maybe you're both in the same sport, so you're kind of made to be friends based on like your hobbies and things like that. So finding friends in your youth group or finding friends in like a Christian community is so important, so that you find those other believers that maybe not go to the same school as you, which I think is cool that youth groups have so many different kids from different schools, public schools and private schools and Christian schools, where you can just come together and be like, we have this same common ground. We both love Jesus, and can base your friendship off of stuff like that.
Yeah. Or even like in college, like the college crew or InterVarsity or whatever it is, they all, I mean, you may be at the same school, but at the same time, they're like all over the place too. They have different majors, they're different classes, different ages. And it's just really nice to have those connections there too.
Yeah, absolutely. We just like have to keep finding that example of love and friendship that Jesus lived with his companions, and trying to focus on living that out in our day-to-day lives too. It's like, it obviously wasn't easy for Jesus all the time, 'cause he was friends with a lot of people that other people in that area didn't want to be friends with, like tax collectors and people who had leprosy or people who were unclean in that era too. Is like, that's who Jesus wanted to hang out with, because he saw how humble and like that example of love that they had in his foundations for his friendships. One of the questions at the end of like the reflection that this blog was talking about are ways that you have felt your friendships shift, like for either the positive ways or the negative waves. I think it's good to see both, 'cause it's hard to be in a friendship that falls apart, but you can definitely learn a lot of things from that and think, okay, moving forward, I need to just set more boundaries, or maybe this person was relying on me too much. And so that could be a negative way. And positive ways would be more like, wow, like that was a blast. Like I had so much fun with my friends tonight, and like it was just good vibes all around and good energy. And so there's definitely ways that you can feel them shift. Do you think it happens like a quick shift, or if it's like a little bit slower?
I think it kind of depends. If you're in a toxic friendship, it can be very slow. The shift can be very like little things start piling up, and then you're like, and then it just turns into a huge fight. But it's, I mean, if you go, it mostly negative, I would say, like shifts, like, I mean, it's hard to go from a negative to a positive, I feel like. If you're in a negative friendship, it doesn't usually turn out positive. It could, but I feel like with positive, it can pretty quickly turn negative, I feel like.
Right.
When no matter what it is, like whether it's over a boy or over another friend or over faith or politics, it can, I mean, we've seen the divide recently of over a lot of things, and I feel like it's something really solid, even if you've said like, oh, we disagree on these things, but we agree on these things, so we're fine. And then all of a sudden it's like that one thing, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Where did we go wrong?
Yeah, 'cause that could definitely be how fast it could shift through that. Yep,
for sure.
Jinx. So when you're looking at friendships, like either when you were younger or when you're older, just like keep thinking about that example that Jesus set, and how you can keep living out those day-to-day lives, and how you're approaching your own friendships, like this month or this week or even today. Like think about the friendships that mean the most to you, or the most encouraging. Like send them a text today or a Bible verse that really just encourages them, and maybe send them like a gift card and think like, I just really appreciate the friendship that we have and the time that we've spent together.
For sure. Definitely bless your friends too. Don't just expect them to give into you all the time if you want to keep that friendship strong.
It's important to set boundaries too, I think, 'cause that's what I had to learn too a little bit through high school, is that I wanted to do everything above and beyond what my friends did for me.
Very true.
And it's hard to set those boundaries sometimes and think like, no, like I need to get something out of this friendship more than what I'm pouring into. And that's like the ultimate friendship, is like the time that we spend with him really reflects on our decisions and our thoughts and our words and our actions too.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
It's easy to get swept up in everything else and just forget about Jesus, and forget about, like, you just have so much fun, and you just kind of lose yourself even in the friendship as well.
Yeah.
So.
And when we get so busy, it's hard to find time for friendships too. Like
For sure.
when you're thinking how your schedule is so packed, and then your friend is like, hey, can we hang out tonight? And you're like, I'm exhausted. But then like thinking too, you can get something out of those times when you don't have to do an elaborate activity with your friends, especially when you're so tired like that. It can just be like, okay, I just need to talk, and like, let's make a pizza and just hang out too.
That's definitely something I've noticed, because my two closest friends are, one's 4 hours away and one's 2.5-ish hours away.
Yeah.
I've just noticed that when we do get together, the three of us, it's definitely more of like a, let's sit down and just catch up. Like we can do fun stuff, and I want to see your college campus, and I want to like tour your town, whatever, but let's just like sit and just hang out. Because I feel like when we were all in the same town, in high school and over the summer, it was like we were always doing something. We wanted to make the most of the time we had. And now that we're separated, we're like, okay, so a lot has happened in the couple months since I've seen you. Let's sit down and catch up on things and just relax and enjoy, since school and life now is so different and busy and chaotic with all the new things.
And that's sometimes how we can approach our like friendship and relationship with Jesus, is sometimes we think we have to plan the big elaborate thing where it's like Jesus just wants to sit down and talk with us. It's like just building that relationship together, and that faith journey can really just come from just sitting down with your Bible and opening it up and saying, okay, God, what do you want to tell me today? It doesn't have to be a big planned out event too.
Yeah. Or just like in your car at a stoplight, just praying, just talking to him, not even praying, just talking to him. Be like, okay, this is what I have to do. Like, help me get through this, whatever. It's nice that we can be informal and have a friendship with him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I love that quote where it's like, it's not about religion, it's about relationship, and just taking that as your challenge this week and thinking about, how is my walk with God? Is it more of a relationship, or is it more of a religion? And it's just a day-to-day thing that you have to keep on your mind. And like, when you stop at the stoplight, or like whatever you're doing, you're looking in the mirror, putting your makeup on in the morning, or maybe you're in a sporting event or something, you're just thinking in the back of your head, like, is it a relationship with Jesus, or is it just a religion, just something that I'm following day to day?
Something I do on Sundays and Wednesdays, and then the rest of the week I'm just doing my own thing. So
yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. We encourage you to follow us on all the social medias. We love hearing from you guys and seeing just all the comments and the encouragement as we are just like full sending this podcast, which is so encouraging to see just how far our area of like God is taking this podcast and spreading it across communities and across countries. Like, that's incredible. So we want you to continue this conversation on all of our social media platforms. You can also be a part of our insider team, which is you just go to our website and plug in your email address. So it's not like a bunch of promotion things or anything, but just so that you are like on the inside scoop of what is happening behind the scenes. And just really looking forward to the next time we get to chat with you and our next podcast. Anything else, Elizabeth? You good?
I don't think so. As long follow the socials. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube.
Yeah.
Follow our Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I think that's all of them. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it was really great getting to talk to you about friendships.
Yeah, same. Thank you for our friendship.
Yes, I very am blessed by your friendship.